The only thing that interests me right now is talking about the guru-disciple relationship.
What specifically interests you?
Well, what the question for?
I can tell you how I view it, and then maybe you'll have a question. Does it work? Will it work?
Sure.
Well, spiritual path, coming back to our previous discussions, is another name for religion. It means we are trying to reconnect our small self to the large self, microcosm to macrocosm. And what we find on that journey is that it's essentially a shift in identification from our personality to identifying with the whole universe. There are many different variants of this new large identification, but essentially it's disidentifying, moving away from seeing yourself as a person to seeing yourself as a representative of a larger whole. That's essentially what spirituality is. And on this journey of self-discovery, where you will discover that you are not a small self but a large self, there are many obstacles, and they are very nicely described in several books on spiritual materialism. And the problem with spiritual materialism, the problem with how our ego works, is that it's very good at creating very subtle delusions, where it can actually even create a delusion that you are enlightened and you know everything, when actually it's just another ego state, just another ego state. So in Western cultures, particularly in the United States, there is a tendency to do what I call mantra shopping, group hopping. It means you learn a little bit from here, a little bit from there, but main thing is that there is an avoidance of going deeper. And it's kind of like, you're trying to dig a well, to get to water. And you dig in one place, and when digging gets tough, you go to another place, dig a little bit there. You never ever reach deep water because you never ever spend enough time and effort to go to dig the deep well. Guru is necessary because a guru, a competent guru, will prevent you from going here and there. He or she will tell you, you start digging well here, until you finish, don't stop. And as you know, right now we're dealing with several potential disciples. Each of them is somehow or another mired in spiritual materialism. One doesn't know what he wants, another one says he knows what he wants but he doesn't act on it. Another person is going back and forth between several traditions, including our own. And the problem is that to reach as deep as they can, they have to stick with one thing and beat it to death. You need to go as deep as you can with one thing. And then, if you want to, after that, study other deep things, you can. And for me, ultimately, a guru is an assistant, a friend, who will make sure you'll go as deep as you can go. That's my take on the guru right now. And my take on the disciple, the most important characteristic of the disciple is that he or she recognizes the need for such teacher and is capable of following the directions of the teacher. That's about it.
Expand a little on following directions.
I think this question contains another question, and that is that in the West, people get very nervous that someone is going to control them.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about following directions, in many people's minds, the first thing comes, oh my God, the guru is going to control me. Here, I just want to throw a couple sentences. You are already being controlled. And that control is coming from your parents, from your society, from your culture, from your language. And if you're not aware of this control over you, I think you're going to have difficulty understanding the need for guru-disciple relationship. If you're not fighting against these external control structures, either internally or externally, if you're not aware of them, then you probably don't even understand what spiritual path is all about. So, when you come to a guru, you need to view this relationship as the most loving, the most kind, the deepest relationship you can possibly have. Because you will engage with the guru the deepest parts of yourself. This is kind of by definition. So when you approach someone you love, and when you approach someone who loves you, the question of control is not that important. You become open through love to instructions. And these instructions could be verbal. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? You should avoid this and you should avoid that. But mostly they are through deep understanding of the love bond and understanding that what guru represents. And when you understand that, you by definition will also understand who you represent. So these instructions are very subtle. Yes, they can be also very crude, like become a vegetarian or practice asanas for an hour twice a day, or do meditation, or go to college, or travel to another country. But they all come from the desire by both guru and disciple to go as deep as they can together.
Expanding upon this subject of following directions, the competence is on both sides. It needs to be on both sides. Because someone can just sit here and there's a desire from the disciple many times, although you talk about having the desire not to be controlled, but there is also the desire to be controlled, to be told what to do, to make things easier so you don't have to figure things out for yourself.
Mm. Well, you're bringing up a very, very important point, and I've studied this point for many, many years. Usually if you read anti-guru literature, anti-cult literature, they all focus on competence or incompetence or actions of the guru. And I focus on the competence of the disciple because it's pretty obvious when guru abuses his authority what that is about. but there is a lot of preconceived notions in the disciples about what's going to happen. Guru, for example, looking for a father figure, a mother figure, a parental figure in the guru, looking for a therapist in the guru, looking for a mentor, a life coach in the guru. None of this a guru is. A guru is fundamentally a person who creates a space for you where you grow spiritually. A guru can certainly act as a parental figure once in a while, but if you want it to be constant, that's a problem. A guru certainly can give you a little bit of psychological advice and do a little bit of psychotherapy once in a while when you're going through a really bad time. But a guru is not a person who's going to fix you psychologically. In fact, if you're approaching a guru in hopes that your psychological problems will be solved, you are barking a wrong tree. In fact, you should go to a psychiatrist, psychologist first and get yourself functional, better, more than functional, before you approach a guru. Now, guru as a mentor, this is a little bit more blurry, because ultimately a guru is a sort of spiritual mentor for you, where he or she helps you grow spiritually and advises you. But ultimately guru is not someone who is continuously advising you, particularly in our tradition. And then life coach, well, I think that in a way guru is a life coach, because a guru who knows how to ask questions skillfully will be helpful. Ultimately, guru again is someone who creates space in which you feel free to go as deep as you can. It's also someone who leads by his own example of going beyond ordinary forms of living. In fact, a guru cannot possibly be an ordinary person. He or she may look ordinary, may have an ordinary job, may be married and have children, but inside, any real guru is fundamentally opposed to spiritual materialism. A guru understands how limiting culture is. Real guru. A real guru understands how limited language is, and he or she will focus on transmitting information through other means.
I think you're touching upon the very important topic of transmission.
Well, so, say I'm a guru, and say I want to transmit something to you. Well, are you a capable receiver? Can you hear the message? And I think that this is where a lot of misunderstanding comes in. In tantric scriptures, they very clearly say the qualities of the guru, and they also very clearly talk about qualities of the disciple. And one day we should raise up these scriptures and read it. I can tell you a few things about a disciple is spiritually mature. What does that mean? It means that he or she does not have infantile ideas about spirituality. He or she clearly knows that he has an ego that he needs to transcend. He or she is not trying to build up that ego through a spiritual practice. So if you're going to a guru because you want to belong somewhere, you want to address your self-esteem, you should remember that guru will make sure that you don't belong to anywhere and will try to break your self-esteem. So if you are not stable emotionally, you're going to have a problem. Another thing about disciple is that disciple needs to be intelligent. In Russian we have a saying, send a fool to pray to God, he's going to break his forehead. So it alludes to the fact that, when you pray, you do like this with your head, at least in some traditions. And a person may confuse being sincere in prayer with hitting his forehead hard on the stone. So you can see a lot of people who are very sincere, but stupid sincerity, trying to overdo spiritual practices. I know many people who would like sit in meditation for 2, 3, 4 hours because they're trying to escape life. Now, sitting in meditation this long is wonderful if you are actually doing meditation rather than trying to numb yourself with meditation. So that would be an example of someone who is not aware how to be a good disciple. Also, a good disciple needs to be completely open in front of the Guru. Are you ready to be naked in front of your Guru? If you're not, how close are you to being ready there? Are you trainable? How fast? So if you come to a Guru and you have problem being open, and it will take you 10 years to become open, it will take you 10 years to start really authentic relationship with the Guru.
It's quite amazing, the state of being that we go through. The palette of experiences that we experience as humans.
Look at this, the imposter.
I am taking over this company.